know that the top 3 things that actually increase the risk of having an injury are previous injury or maybe inadequate rehab returning from an injury, asymmetries within movement, or performance issues. So what we're going to do is take you through some self-assessments for movement to see how you can address some of those mobility impairments so you don't have that risk of sustaining a future injury. All right, so for the bank robber assessment, get flat on your back with your feet flat on the ground. Your back is going to be pressed into the ground, all right? Because we don't want you to compensate by arching your back to get more mobility. The assessment is for your shoulder. So we're going to keep that back flat on the ground. The hands and elbows are going to be in a W position to start. We're going to slide your hands and elbows all the way up in the air, keeping your elbows and hands on the ground, and then all the way back down into that W position. The passing test is the ability to keep your elbow and hand on the ground all the way up through the assessment and all the way down, and not having your hand or elbow come on up. So a common compensation would be for you to have to come on up and have to get your hand up in the air, or even as you're coming down, having to get your wrist to bend so you're keeping your hand on the ground. You want to keep all those in contact. Now that you assessed your movement and found some restrictions or limitations, there's a few exercises you can perform to correct some of those issues. All right, so for the kneeling shoulder opener, it's a progression of exercises. You can start with the first one and then progress on to the third one, and I'm going to demonstrate. So for the first one, you can just simply put your hands on a bench or a chair and rock your butt back towards your heels, opening up your chest. To progress that, we can put our elbows on the chair or the bench, clasp them together, and drive again our butt down towards our heels, opening up our shoulder. To make that a little bit more difficult, you can grab a pole or a broomstick, holding our shoulders out in a little bit of external rotation, so the shoulder width apart. We can again drive down, opening up our chest, and then adding in a little bit of a tricep stretch at the same time. Releasing. For each of those, we can hold for 30 to 60 seconds as a stretch, or do it as a mobility exercise, holding for around 5 seconds for 5 to 6 reps. All right, so for this exercise, what we're going to do is put the foam roller lengthways along the spine, sitting on it with our head supported. We can do a few movements here that we can perform, either like 15 to 20 reps, or we can hold it as a stretch as well. So the first one, you can simply actually do the bank robber and try to increase your range of motion every single time you go through a repetition. Or we can perform Y position, similar motion where we're trying to increase that motion every single time we're going through a repetition. We can perform a T motion, or we can perform an A motion. All while trying to keep our back flat against this foam roller while we're feeling our shoulders open on up.